What began as a dream trip turned into a puzzle of stares, secrets, and silences. Something was off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, not until I saw the man in the white racing jacket, and the way her eyes followed him. I always dreamed of going to Japan. The lights, the culture, the food, the cars, especially the cars. Ever since I was a kid watching underground drift videos online, I wanted to see the Tokyo Auto Velocity Festival in person. It was legendary. The mecca of automotive beauty and power. And when I married Leah, the woman I thought was the love of my life, it felt like I'd finally found my co-pilot. She wasn't a gearhead, but she knew how much it meant to me. When I got the invitation to be a featured guest at the festival thanks to my growing YouTube car channel, she didn't hesitate. "We're going," she said, smiling with that effortless charm. "This is your dream, baby." We landed in Tokyo on a golden July afternoon. The air was thick with summer humidity, and the city pulsed like it had a heartbeat. Neon signs blinked even before sunset. Vending machines lined every alley. And the people, precise, polite, and always moving. Our hotel overlooked Odaiba Bay glass towers and chrome reflections. From our window, we could already see banners being set up for the Velocity Festival at the nearby Tokyo Drift Arena. But the real surprise came when we checked in. "Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Adams," the concierge smiled. "Your VIP festival passes and event schedule have already been delivered to your suite. Also, Mr. Kenji Nakamura left a message. He looks forward to meeting you." "Kenji Nakamura?" I asked. "Who's that?" Leah's smile faltered, just for a second. "Barely noticeable." "Oh," she said quickly. "He's the festival director or something, right?" I nodded slowly, still trying to place the name. I didn't remember any Kenji. The drift god. That evening, the Velocity Festival opened with a thunderclap of lights and engines. Thousands gathered at the stadium. Booths lined the entrance, rare car parts, collectibles, food trucks, cosplay models. It was every car enthusiast's heaven. But all eyes were on the track. And that's where I saw him. A white and gold Toyota Supra glided out onto the asphalt like it was dancing on air. The car roared, then drifted into a perfect sideways slide, tires screaming in harmony. Cameras flashed. People screamed his name. "Kenji! Kenji! Kenji!" And then he stepped out of the car. Slicked back jet black hair. White racing jacket with golden dragons. A scar along his jawline like something out of an anime villain. And confidence that made every woman in the crowd go silent. I glanced at Leah. Her lips were slightly parted. Her eyes locked on him like he was the only person in the universe. "Wow," she whispered. "He's talented." I felt something in my chest. Not quite jealousy. Not yet. But something colder. Something older. "Yeah," I muttered. "Talented. Hidden gears." The next day, we had a private tour of the backstage pit area. Leah wore a simple black sundress, but something about her that morning felt different. She spent longer on her hair. Added perfume she rarely used. And her phone buzzed 3 times during breakfast each time she turned the screen away. We were walking past a tent filled with carbon fiber hoods when he appeared. "Ah, Mr. Adams," Kenji said, his English smooth but accented. "And Mrs. Adams. Or should I say, Leah?" She blushed. Actually blushed. "Kenji," she said, and her voice had a softness I hadn't heard in a long time. "It's been a while." "Been a while?" I stared at them. "How do you two know each other?" Kenji smiled. "Oh, just a few crossed paths in the past." "Small world, no?" Leah chimed in. "He was in California for a while. We met at a design seminar. Nothing big. Nothing big." The rest of the tour was a blur. Engines roared. Crowds cheered. But all I could hear was that phrase echoing in my head. Nothing big. That night, while Leah slept beside me, I lay awake staring at the Tokyo skyline. Lights blinked red. Somewhere in the city, someone revved a tuned engine. And I knew something was already broken. I just hadn't realized how deep the fracture ran. Keep reading. Because the deeper I looked for answers, the more I realized. I was chasing a ghost in a city of smoke and mirrors. The next morning, the air was thick with heat and suspicion. Leah had been distant ever since that brief, awkward exchange with Kenji Nakamura. I told myself not to read into it. I told myself she was just overwhelmed by the intensity of the festival. But lies we tell ourselves are the most dangerous kind. We walked the festival grounds together, but it felt like I was trailing a stranger. She barely took pictures. She barely smiled. And every so often, I catch her glancing at her phone, that same locked screen, those same unreadable messages. That evening, I was invited to do a guest Q&A session at the main tent, meet some fans, sign a few posters. Leah said she was going to check out the vendors alone. Want me to come with you after? I asked. She hesitated. Maybe. I might head back to the hotel early. A part of me wanted to ask, why? The other part already knew the answer. The fan meet that wasn't. The Q&A was fine. The fans were amazing, respectful, excited, asking about mods, builds, future projects. I smiled, laughed, told stories about car meets in Texas and engine swaps gone wrong. But my mind was elsewhere. By 9:45 p.m., the tent was clearing out. I texted Leah. Me, you at the hotel? Leah, yeah. Just got here. Super tired. I stared at the message. Typed a reply. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that one too. Then I walked out of the tent, took the side gate, and followed my instincts. Not the ones that screamed trust her. The ones that whispered, you're being played. The garage beneath the neon. About a quarter mile from the arena was an underground garage off limits to the public. VIP cars, drift legends, prototypes. I remembered the security guy saying Kenji stored his personal cars down there. I slipped past the side fence, careful not to attract attention. It was quiet, too quiet. But the kind of quiet that buzzes under your skin. The metal ramp led down into darkness, then opened into a stunning space, polished concrete, soft LED lighting, chrome reflections everywhere. And at the far end, I froze. There she was. Leah. Standing next to the white and gold Supra. Her hand tracing its hood like it was alive. And Kenji. Standing behind her. They were close. Too close. She laughed at something he whispered. He leaned in. I couldn't breathe. I should have turned back. But I moved forward slowly, like every step might wake a sleeping monster. And then it happened. She put her hand on his chest. He touched her cheek. And the kiss. It wasn't hesitant. It wasn't confused. It was familiar. Like they'd done this before. Like I was watching chapter 9 of a story I'd only just started reading. Cracks in the concrete. I didn't confront them. Not then. I backed away into the shadows. My heart was racing, but my steps were silent. By the time I got back to the hotel, it was past midnight. She was already in bed, pretending to sleep. I stood in the bathroom, staring at myself in the mirror. Not angry. Not broken. Just numb. There were no tears. Just questions. How long? Why him? Why here? I climbed into bed next to her, my body like stone. She shifted slightly, mumbling, "You okay?" I stared at the ceiling. Yeah, I lied. Just tired. She turned away. And I realized something chilling. She didn't ask where I'd been. The game behind the festival. The next morning, I played my part. We walked the festival grounds again. I smiled at fans, took pictures, cracked jokes. But my mind was calculating. Every look. Every movement. Every excuse. Kenji made a speech on the main stage about the future of electric drifting. Leah stood near the front row, smiling, clapping, eyes locked on him. Afterward, I checked her phone while she was in the shower. Locked, of course. But something caught my eye. In her purse, a black business card. Kenji Nakamura. Where roads and hearts drift together. And on the back, handwritten in silver ink. See you tonight. K. And I let her. I let her lie. I let her sleep beside me. I played the fool because I wasn't ready to face the truth. I sat on the hotel balcony that morning, letting the Tokyo sun warm my face, the business card between my fingers like it might reveal some deeper truth if I stared hard enough. See you tonight. Those words weren't playful. They were intimate. Planned. It wasn't a flirtation. It was a routine. When Leah came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel and pretending everything was fine, I turned to her with a calm I didn't know I had. You sleep okay? She asked, drying her hair. Yeah, I lied again. You? Out like a light, she smiled. That massage yesterday really helped. I nodded. Glad you're feeling better. And I didn't say a word about what I'd seen. Or the card I'd found. Because sometimes, silence is louder than truth. Setting the trap. I spent most of the day walking the festival alone. Everyone thought I was just enjoying the cars, but inside, I was studying patterns. Watching where Kenji went. Who he spoke to. I noticed he never stayed anywhere too long. He moved like someone with secrets. I also noticed Leah checking her phone more often than usual. Each time she did, her face softened, not like she was reading a meme. More like she was reading something she wished I'd sent her. By 4 p.m., I'd made my decision. No more watching. No more wondering. I was going to catch them. The plan. I told Leah I was going to a rooftop after party some fans had invited me to. She smiled with relief, not jealousy, not curiosity. Relief. Sounds fun. You need me to come with, she asked. You sure? Thought you were tired, I said. Testing her. She shrugged. I might just crash early again. Right. Like last night. I kissed her on the cheek. She turned her head slightly, avoiding my lips. That told me everything. The tale. I waited outside our hotel for 30 minutes after leaving. Not even hiding, just standing beside a vending machine, pretending to scroll through my phone. And sure enough, there she was. In a black jacket. Tight jeans. A low ponytail. She didn't notice me. Or maybe she did and didn't care. She hailed a cab. I hailed a bike. I followed her across Tokyo, through alleyways lit with flickering signs, past quiet shrines and busy ramen stands. She wasn't going to the spa. She wasn't going to meet a friend. She was going back to that underground garage. Back to him. The moment of truth. I kept my distance, hiding behind a pillar near the entrance as she entered the garage. Inside, I could see it all. The Supra was waiting. Polished. Purring. Like it knew what was coming. And Kenji. Standing beside it, grinning like he owned the world. He walked to her like she was a prize. She didn't hesitate. Didn't second guess. Didn't even check over her shoulder. They kissed. Longer this time. Deeper. She said something I couldn't hear. He laughed and pulled her toward the back of the garage. I stepped out from the shadows. The confrontation. My footsteps echoed across the concrete. They froze. Kenji turned first. Leah followed a second later. Her eyes widened, not with guilt. With shock. Like I wasn't supposed to exist anymore. She started. No, I said. Calm. Cold. You were never just anything. Kenji stepped forward. Hey man, let's not. Shut up. He blinked. I stared at Leah. How long? I asked. She swallowed hard. Said nothing. How long? I repeated. 3 months, she whispered. Like that word didn't stab straight into my chest. The cold collapse. I nodded. Didn't cry. Didn't yell. Because in that moment, I realized something even worse than the betrayal. I realized I'd been irrelevant to her story for a long time. That I was background noise to her plot twist. Why him? I asked. He understands me, she said. He listens. I laughed loud, bitter. I gave up everything to be here with you. I crossed an ocean to chase your dreams. And you gave me a man with a garage full of toys. Kenji stepped forward again. You're embarrassing yourself. I turned to him. You know what's embarrassing? Thinking someone like you could take what I built. What we built. Leah reached out. Please. I stepped back. No. You made your choice. I turned, walked up the ramp, and out into the Tokyo night. The city buzzed. But all I could hear was silence. She didn't follow me that night. She didn't call. Didn't text. I didn't go back to the hotel. I checked into a capsule motel instead. $50 for a coffin-sized pod and the anonymity I desperately needed. Inside, I scrolled through the photos on my phone. Her smile. My hand in hers. Us in Kyoto. All lies. Polished, filtered lies. But something caught my attention, a video. I didn't remember taking it. It was a clip from the garage, maybe earlier that week. Kenji was behind the camera. Leah was laughing. Are you sure it's recording? She asked, touching the lens. Then she kissed him. He turned the camera toward himself. Say something for the fans, baby, he smirked. She leaned in. To all the clueless husbands out there, maybe if you took better care of your wife, she wouldn't need a mechanic for her emotional tune-up. They both laughed. Something snapped. I stared at the screen. Over and over. To all the clueless husbands out there. Was that what I was to her? A placeholder until she could upgrade to some grease-covered player with a turbo ego? My hands were trembling. My jaw locked. And then, like divine timing, I got a message. From someone named Yuki. I saw what happened in the garage. I don't like Kenji either. He's ruined more than just your marriage. Meet me at this address at midnight. Come alone. Attached was a dropped pin. Somewhere in a darker corner of the Tokyo outskirts. Midnight meeting. I didn't hesitate. Took a train, then a taxi. The streets grew quieter, more industrial. Finally, I reached an abandoned parking structure. Graffiti-tagged walls, neon flickered half-dead. She was there. Yuki. Late 20s, leather jacket, eyes like she hadn't slept in days. She lit a cigarette with shaky hands. You came, she said. You said you saw what happened? I asked. She nodded. I used to date Kenji. A year ago. Before your wife. My stomach churned. He does this, she said. He finds foreign women who come to Japan with their husbands. Pretends to be this underground king of speed. Offers them attention, adrenaline, affection, just enough to make them feel alive again. I swallowed. He grooms them. Exactly, she said. Yuki pulled out her phone. He recorded everything. He brags about it in these private chats with his crew. There's a whole group of them. It's not just about cheating, it's content. Blackmail. Ego. She showed me the messages. Kenji's face. Leah. Private moments. Twisted into trophies. I tried to go to the police, Yuki said. They said unless I had consent forms or money involved, they couldn't touch him. But I've got something better. She handed me a USB drive. All his files. Videos. Voice notes. Car meet records. Locations. Why give this to me? I asked. Because you're not the first man he's broken. But maybe you'll be the first to hit back. That night, back in my capsule pod, I plugged in the USB. My screen lit up like Christmas. Hundreds of files. Dozens of women. One method. Kenji was a predator with a turbocharged mask. And Leah, she wasn't just a victim. She was a willing co-star. I didn't sleep. I spent the night building a digital dossier. Names. Faces. Timestamps. I created a Dropbox folder. A burner Twitter account. And then, I posted it all. Anonymous. Ruthless. Hashtagged with #KenjiKarma. By the next morning, it had gone viral across the underground tuning scene. The comments exploded. He filmed my sister? That's my girlfriend in video #3. I knew he was a fraud. By noon, his garage was vandalized. By evening, sponsors pulled out. By midnight, the cops raided the place. And Leah? She called. Again. And again. I didn't pick up. Not yet. Because I had one last card to play. If you thought the twist was behind us, you're not ready for what comes next. I was packing. Not in the leave the country kind of way, more like the get this mess behind me and breathe again way. My flight back to LA was at noon. But at 8 a.m., someone knocked on the Capsule Motel's steel door. I opened it. She stood there. Leah. Hair messy. Makeup smudged. Wearing the same leather jacket I'd bought her in Osaka. The one she wore the night she left with him. I heard what you did, she said. Her voice was hoarse. Broken in all the wrong places. You destroyed him. I didn't reply. Just moved aside and let her in. She stepped in like a ghost haunting the place where she died. Or maybe where she killed something, like trust. I deserved it, she finally said. But I also think you deserve to know the full truth. I crossed my arms. Try me. I didn't cheat on you at first, she started. Kenji, he just made me feel seen. Like I wasn't just some trophy wife traveling on your expense account while you were busy talking about sponsorships and mileage stats. I didn't interrupt. I wanted the whole thing. He offered me a test drive. That's all it was. A thrill. But then it became about more. Secrets. Shame. Then, control. Control? I asked. He knew things. About you. About your finances. Your company. He got into your emails. Said if I didn't play along, he'd ruin everything. So I did. I blinked. The lie was just deep enough to feel real. So all the kissing. The laughing. The videos. That was blackmail? She hesitated. No. That part was me. I didn't stop it. I could've. But I didn't. At least she was honest. Finally. But now he's gone. And I'm still standing here. With nothing. She looked at me. Like I was supposed to rescue her from the ruin she made. I want to go home with you, she whispered. I want to fix this. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Fix this? I repeated. You think you can just glue this back together with a sad speech and a return ticket? She stepped closer. We could move past it. We could be better than this place, this mistake. I stepped back. No, Leah. You could have been better. But you chose him. And the only thing we're moving past is you. I thought that would be the end of it. But she looked at me again and then dropped a bomb I never expected. You think you ruined him, she said. You think your little files and burner accounts took down the dragon? I felt something tighten in my chest. What do you mean? He knew you'd do it, she said. He wanted you to. That garage was already under investigation by a rival gang. By exposing him, you triggered a chain reaction that's now going to take you down. I froze. What the hell are you talking about? He framed you. That folder? That USB Yuki gave you? It wasn't just his secrets, it had your login credentials, your company files, your corporate emails. When the cops opened it, they found it all. You're the American who leaked confidential international racing data. That's espionage, baby. She smiled. A cold, slow smile. Not a victory. But inevitability. You were just another move on his chessboard, she whispered. He knew you'd snap. He counted on it. You were never his enemy, you were his weapon. I staggered back. Just then, a knock on the main entrance. Police. Japanese officers in dark uniforms. They had a photo. My passport. They looked at me. Ethan Miller? I didn't run. What was the point? They cuffed me. Read something I didn't understand. Dragged me out under buzzing lights. Leah? She lit a cigarette. Watched me vanish into the morning fog. Didn't flinch. This isn't a love story. This is my revenge. And it starts now. I spent 6 days in solitary. Concrete walls. A steel bench. No sunlight, no phone calls. Just questions in a language I barely understood. And food I didn't dare touch. Then finally an interpreter showed up. Wiry, glasses, young. Mr. Miller, I am from the American consulate. I've reviewed the case. I leaned forward. And? You've been set up. Connecting the dots. Turns out, that USB? Encrypted with dual-layer metadata. The moment I plugged it into my laptop, it ran a background process linking my IP to every dirty file inside. It mimicked a data breach. The Japanese government thought I was a corporate spy. Kenji had planned it for months. And Leah, she was the perfect decoy. Not just a cheating wife, a carrier of the virus that detonated my life. But the consulate had pulled strings. There wasn't enough evidence to hold me, not in court. So they cut a deal. I could leave Japan. But I'd be banned from entering again. Ever. They handed me back my passport. My phone. And a plane ticket. Business class. LAX. I walked out of that detention center into the gray Tokyo rain. Free, but far from whole. But that's not how it ends. 3 weeks later. Back home. I sat in my empty condo, staring at the skyline. News played in the background. Osaka racing kingpin arrested, Kenji Nakamura faces international charges. He didn't see it coming. Turns out, I wasn't the only one he double-crossed. The same rival gang Leah mentioned? They flipped. And one of his own drivers gave up enough intel to bury him. I smiled. It was poetic. He'd built his empire on blackmail, manipulation. And it collapsed under the weight of his own ego. Then came the letter. No return address. Postmarked from Mexico. Inside a photo. Leah. On a beach. Holding a surfboard. Smiling. On the back, in her familiar handwriting. You were the best thing I ever had. And the worst mistake I ever made. I don't expect forgiveness. But maybe now we're even. Even. As if pain was a currency and she'd balance the books. I burned the photo. Didn't need reminders. The engine roars again. Months passed. And then, the call came. An old friend in the States. He'd seen the footage of me at the auto festival, the one that went viral before the scandal. He'd started a new company. Electric performance builds. High-end drift conversions. He wanted me on board. I said yes. Now I spend my days in a California garage with rolling doors and an open sky. Engines hum like old songs. Grease on my hands feels better than a champagne glass ever did. Sometimes, I remember Japan. The lights. The betrayal. The way love twisted into a blade. But I don't feel hate. Not anymore. Because the road ahead is long. And I'm not driving in reverse.